After my mom's 25-year-long marriage to my biological father came to an end, I moved in with her. My dad was a manipulative jerk, but that's a story for another time. Not long after the divorce, my mom introduced me to her new boyfriend, Chris. At that time, she worked as a correctional officer at the county jail. While Chris was a former inmate who'd served time for a DUI, that probably should have been our first warning sign. But my mom was still grieving, and I didn't want to press the issue. Chris made her smile again, and for me, that was enough. My siblings and I moved in with them, and for a while, things seemed pretty smooth. Chris and I got along, especially since we shared a love of video games. Everything appeared to be going well, until 2017, because of his previous DUI charge. Chris had to report to the courthouse regularly for probation check-ins. One day, he didn't come back. We were concerned, then got a call from him. From Texas. Apparently, the FBI had ambushed him when he showed up to court. Turns out, his relatives in Texas were involved in organized crime gangs, drugs, the works. He had once been in a car during a drug handoff and got roped into the investigation. In exchange for a lighter sentence, he agreed to testify against his family. He was allowed to stay out of jail until the trial. My mom was heartbroken, but over the course of that year, through countless phone calls, they patched things up and planned to get married once he returned. Even his former boss at Dairy Queen promised to take him back as store manager. That's when the drinking started again, given his DUI history. It wasn't shocking that Chris drank, but it quickly spiraled. He was putting away half a case of beer every day. Drunk Chris was a menace. He'd pick fights constantly. Though he never got physical, he was verbally abusive and hostile. My mom excused it for a long time, blaming stress from work and the impending trial. After years of this, she finally snapped. One night, he came home wasted, and she confronted him. He didn't deny it, so she kicked him out. He stayed with a friend for the night. The next morning, she asked us to gather a few of his essentials and leave them outside. She didn't want him back in the house until he sobered up. While we were collecting his stuff, someone knocked on the front door. It was Betty, one of Chris's co-workers and someone I actually went to school with. She told my mom she had something serious to share. Betty asked my mom to keep her identity confidential, then dropped the bombshell. Chris had been cheating with a woman named Darla. He was having sex with her all over the Dairy Queen, and Betty had walked in on them. Chris threatened to fire her if she said anything. He was her manager, after all, and, to top it off, Darla was pregnant. My mom was stunned. But once the initial shock passed, she told us to clear out everything Chris owned and throw it outside in the alley. Since the house was rented under her name only, Chris had no legal right to return. She called him and confronted him. Chris admitted to the entire affair, even saying he was thrilled about the baby because he finally got to have a kid of his own. My mom didn't want more kids. Carrying nearly killed her. He showed no remorse. She arranged for an officer to be present when he came to collect his things, and that was it. He was gone. The revenge. My mom was ready to wash her hands of him and move on. But my siblings and I had other plans. First, we contacted his workplace. Since Dairy Queen operates as a franchise, the store was owned by a family friend. We let him know about the sexual misconduct happening at the store. Chris was promptly fired and banned from all the locations in the area. Funny enough, Betty took over his role and turned that place around. With no job and no place to live, Chris moved in with Darla in a town about an hour away. We discovered he had gotten another job at a local DQ there, so we called that branch too and shared everything. It took longer. There was no new misconduct yet, but eventually, he lost that job as well. Not long after, Chris started circling our neighborhood in Darla's car, clearly keeping tabs on us, likely out of spite after losing 2 jobs. Here's the thing, his DUI probation was still active. He didn't have a license and never needed to drive while living with us because everything was close by. So we called the cops. We told them that we suspected Chris was the one driving Darla's car, despite having no license. Sure enough, not long after, they pulled him over. He was not only driving without a license, he was also drunk. That wasn't the end of it. When police searched the home he shared with Darla, they found firearms on site. As a convicted felon, Chris wasn't allowed to be around weapons. That added even more jail time. By the time he served his sentence, he was immediately sent back to Texas for the trial. Chris's child was born while he was behind bars. At some point, Darla must have seen his true colors because she broke all contact with him. While in prison, Chris flooded my mom with letters. Some were apologies, others were excuses, and some even blamed her. She burned every single one. Moved to another state and never looked back. Chris eventually got released. He now lives in Kansas, broke and buried in child support payments after Darla sued him. My mom has a new boyfriend now, one who actually treats her with respect and care. My brother and sister have moved on with their lives, and I still live with mom, helping renovate the home we recently bought. Life's much better now. Talking to a coworker about cheaters reminded me of this whole mess, so I figured I'd share. Hope someone finds it satisfying.